What's up, guys? Frank here from Metal Injection with Kalandra, who have been warming our hearts for years now and are doing it again with their new album coming out this September called A Frame of Mind. And I got to hear the record just yesterday, actually, guys. And like you did it once again. I mean, like it's a beautiful record that I think the world is going to really appreciate once it's out there.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you so
congratulations.
much.
And one thing though is really the style of music that you guys do. I mean, it's I've seen it depending where you look. Like you've seen it like Nordic pop
Mhm.
or like alt rock. Or there's so many different names for what you guys are doing. I was more curious in like how you explain it and what was the mission statement when you started.
It's
It's a tough one.
it's a tough one. I just, in the end, I just say that you should listen to it. But I mean, we are inspired by a lot of different types of influences, I would say. And when I listen to a full album, I get a bit tired in my ears hearing the same thing over and over again. And so I just sort of make assumptions that if I feel that way, maybe someone else feels the same. And I just allow us to create different things, whatever makes us feel good, really. I try not to, yeah, whenever we write something new, I keep telling us that we should just be open to whatever comes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar answer. It's yeah. I don't know. You decide. This
Right.
is sort of putting the whatever hashtag or moniker on it. Haven't the slightest idea.
But if I were to like, if someone who does not know us ask us, "Oh, you do music," and they ask, "What kind of music is it?" or "What does it sound like?" I tend to say, maybe if Pink Floyd and Kate Bush came together and they had a jam session, what would it sound like? That's a bit pretentious, but it does make your mind wander,
Right.
So maybe it's more.
So there wasn't a
Yeah.
premeditated like set thing that you were trying to accomplish. It's just this is what happens when the three of you guys get together, kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Well, I mean, I'm the last of the three of us to join the band, 10, 11, 12 years ago, something like that. And you did have a focus in a direction of the kind of
Yes.
folky oriented music you wanted to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah, I guess.
That sort of changed the more people were
Yeah.
brought on board.
Perhaps I've become a bit blind to what it is that I do, but obviously Norwegian folk tales and Norwegian folklore and music has inspired me, and is the reason I do what I do. I'm also hugely inspired by the female voice and vocal techniques from all over the world, especially world music and um, yeah. Yeah, I got a bit lost there. But my mom she paints like rosemaling, Norwegian rose painting on like wood carved interior and stuff.
Mhm.
And so all over our house there was this Norwegian rose painting all over. And I used to listen to quite a bit of metal, but also this band named Gåte, which is they competed in Eurovision. For those who watched that this year, and yeah, so that was a huge inspiration. And also then I heard Eivør at the age of like 14 or 15 years old. It was my local vocal tutor at this culture house where I was going to take classes. He was like, I think he understood that I wasn't particularly interested in singing musicals. And so he asked me one day, like, what do you like to sing? What kind of music do you listen to when you go home? And I was like, well, I listen to Nightwish, Rammstein, maybe Metallica. He was like, okay. Well, I'll give you some CDs next time. And then he came back next week and he gave me like a big pile of Eivør CDs. She has like a huge discography, for those who didn't know, but she already had a huge discography in in 2008, I think it was. Yeah, 2008. And I went back home, listened to that, heard Trellabundin and the other song, Nu brenner þú i mer. And I was like, okay, I have to learn. I have to be able to learn how she does that. So I just sort of copy paste, applied it to myself, and like, how can I make my voice kind of do something similar? Yeah, and when I started the band, I was like, you need to listen to this music to get me. But then I obviously allow the boys to have their references and make it flow into the music. You might want to, so I don't talk.
Well,
Shut my mouth.
If I can
Yes.
answer the question as well, I would say genre wasn't really sort of something we aimed to achieve or expand upon. It was just finding our common inspiration in like what sort of mood or style can we explore together. And I would say that storytelling, like which is in the like rock folk music tradition, that's been like a essential theme, trying to sort of tell a story between songs. And when you find this emotion in one song, it is sort of, you need to justify it with the song coming before on an album. Right. So having sort of all the different colors to choose from, then you can start to like paint a story that ebbs and flows. And
we've been really conscious about that on this album, how the storytelling flows. Yeah, and musically as well, how the different keys flow into each other.
Well, I think really where it gets to is that the collection of the what you guys do brought you to an amazing debut record, The Line, and you know, since then you've also, I mean, it was just breathtaking in itself, and I think a statement of who you are and what you're doing, which led to the second record, which I wanted to talk about for a second, because that is Kingdom Two Crowns was a video game release. You wound up creating the music for it, and I was wondering, what was that conversation like? Because that's not something that many bands will ever get to experience in their lifetime, is, you know, creating music for something that's a bigger release than music itself. You know?
I've had, that's been a dream of mine since I like started in high school musical class, and like I want to make video game music. So how that came about was an email.
They contacted us.
Yeah, they sent us an email.
Raw Fury. Yeah, the developers contacted us, and they wanted something that was like Norse inspired, but it was still fantasy. So I felt like we could definitely draw upon our influences, but allow ourselves a huge amount of freedom in the creation. And it was a great way to sort of get our minds a little bit out of our own heads and just create for someone else. I think that's a healthy thing for the brain.
That's a good exercise.
Yeah, it's a good exercise. And I know that, like all of us, really enjoy composing and enjoy different genres. You know, our albums are quite diverse, for better or for worse. And so it was a good challenge to do. And we have a really good guy with us in terms of sync, who sort of helped us develop a nice deal where all parties were happy. And
it was interesting because we as a band weren't then, and we still aren't, like entrenched in the whole Norse Viking thing. We do flirt with it, it's part of our heritage, so we do enjoy going there from time to time. But this was as deep as we've ever gone, and perhaps ever will, into sort of that whole Viking theme. But I mean, we did learn a lot from it, and it's listening back to our new album now, I do hear we've taken what we learned from that album and the process of creating that, and then sort of applied it to this album, and also what we did on The Line. It's still Kalandra, but there's another aspect that we learned doing that soundtrack.
I can just have to add to that, because I can definitely hear on this album how we have been touring with Leprous. We have been touring with Vardruna. You can hear it.
Right.
There's some prog in there. There's on Bardagen with the sticks. It's like, yeah, you can definitely tell that we've been influenced. I think we're just like sponges.
Yeah, here's something cool. I want to do that too. Yeah, of course.
Keep her away from smooth jazz. and
Yeah,
then-
yeah.
Oh.
No, I don't think that'll be an issue.
We probably would, like, if
Right.
we did that, it would probably sneak its way in there.
Definitely some
Drummers are
jazz
jazz drummers,
influences in this one. It's hidden though. But I feel like the main difference between the first album and the second album, as you were hinting to, was that we were writing for someone else's script.
Yeah.
You were given.
Is that a
like,
challenge, like as a writer?
It's a great challenge.
Because
but
you
it's
don't even get to see the finished product, right? Like
No,
you're
no, no.
just recording and writing for something that you can
we
only
got
imagine.
to see, it's an expansion pack of an existing franchise. So we had sort of an idea of what it was going to end up looking like and playing like.
Okay.
They gave us like a PDF of like some pictures and what the characters were going to look like. And so that gave us a little bit of what's the English word? I guess an idea, an overview of what it would look like. But when creating the second album, the Northlands, we also knew that, you know, vocals is a big part of what I do, but the vocals and the lyrics cannot in any way steal the focus away from the player. The vocal needs to be an instrument and it needs to sort of flow, and it should be completely subconscious, the feeling you get when you play this game. You shouldn't think about the music. It should just be a feeling that describes the landscape you're in. So it was a bit of a challenge, but also a relief, a bit of a relief for me, because I didn't have to write that much lyrics.
Yes.
Right.
Which I tend to sit and just dig into that for weeks and months and years, and so it was a nice and fun challenge to just use my voice as an instrument.
But I think also the subconscious is something we compose for in our other music as well, because there is a lot of things we put in our arrangements that we don't want to take anything away from like the main message of the song, but just want to add to the subconscious. You feel it, but you don't pay attention to it until you've listened to a record for like 10 more times.
Do you mean in terms of the arrangement?
Yeah,
How
production
like
and arrangement.
Yeah, I'm really particular about when I stop singing, or even when I'm singing, the arrangement needs to explain what I'm not already saying.
Mhm.
So when I'm not singing, the arrangement needs to sort of
Yeah, the music
Get
should
you in.
stand on its own two legs, and then if suddenly there's no vocals there, still needs to be a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were acutely aware of that on
Yeah.
Northlands. And also it was seeing as there weren't any lyrics there, but there's almost no guitar either,
Right.
or pianos, and there were all these new instruments we've never used before. And then we brought on some other people to play with us, and we hadn't really done that before either. And then like involving to that degree other people in the songwriting or the composition process, which again we brought with us to this new album.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it sounds like every step of the way you're learning and bringing that new bag of tricks to the new record.
Yeah.
Which does bring us to a frame of mind. And actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read that you studied in the UK for a few years.
Yeah.
Music.
We all did.
Oh, you all
That's
played.
where we started.
That's where I started the band, in Liverpool. Yeah.
Okay.
So I lived there for 5 years. I went there in 2010, straight from high school. And then I went there 1 year. And then in my second year, I was like, okay, I've been holding it off starting a band because I'm so scared of failure. But like, I need to look myself in the mirror and be like, what is it you really want to do with your life? How do I want to spend it? Like, I do want to write songs. I do want to play with other people. And then when I was in second year, these two were in the same class in first years. And I was like, okay, it's time to sort of get to know some people and start a band. And that's what I did. So it was formed 2011. Didn't really get legs to walk on until 2012, probably. Yeah.
Well, I love I love that you took that time to ask yourself those hard questions and really like existential question, like who am
Yeah.
I, where am I going, what's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
And I think that also translates to what you guys are doing on a frame of mind. And because I do understand that you sat down to write out a lot of your traumas and childhood memories that really make up what this record has become, which is, I've never heard of artists do that, which is, I thought was brilliant.
Oh, I feel like a lot of artists do it.
Well, they
Like,
might do
it's like
it.
healing.
I think they might do it like for themselves
Yeah.
or something because it's so vulnerable. You
Yeah,
know, if
it
you think
is.
about like in the creative process to do that and then display it to the world. You
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
It helps you, like you said, helps you heal. So
Yeah.
it becomes easier to show it once you've processed it and then really processed it because you've worked on a song that long and sort of lived in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a necessity for me, and I feel like if I'm going to do this and have it as a job, I might as well give it my all and pour everything into it. I don't want to do it halfway. So
That said, do you feel like this record, A Frame of Mind, was the most successful therapy session you've ever had?
oh, there will be more therapy sessions. You're never done therapy.
Oh,
You'll never be done, but you do get better at sort of coping and coping with the world, I think, for sure. And
It remains to be seen. Like for my part, I have to get some distance to the album, having now just like finished writing it and
Yeah.
writing it up until the last minutes before it was sent off. So it was like 2 days before it went to mastering. We were still fiddling with arrangements.
Right.
and
But
we do
then
so many
getting
revisions as well on,
Yeah.
on mix. We had like 4 revisions on the master as well. Because we just
But yeah, getting some distance to it, we'll see how healing it really was.
Right.
yeah.
What was that conversation like? Like, was that an idea from one of you to do this, or
Sort of just evolved that way, turned out that way.
Yeah. It's just the way I write. I usually start the songwriting and then I include them. Except for I'll Get There One Day track. That's pretty much all you. But I mean, you have to write about what you know and write about what is meaningful to you. And yeah.
It does help, like Katrina having opened up the songwriting sort of arena to the rest of us does help to understand the songs better and putting part of yourself in it or seeing where you come from and also seeing like what journey sort of the whole album took. Well, we got to know each other better, so it was a lot easier to sort of follow the same path, even though it wasn't like a predetermined thing we set out to do. There's certainly a theme.
Yeah.
Throughout the
And
I
you've
would say
become-
there is like a overarching story that evolved, and as you alluded to the therapy session, there is definitely a lot of inspirations drawn from both sort of therapy, and in some songs a lot more than others. And then some, for me at least, there's inspirations from sort of Eastern mythology or philosophy in some of the sort of themes that we sing about that I try to put in. And I would say like the story comes in the end when you have sort of this, like these 10 songs that we end up choosing, just like how can these 10 songs work as a coherent piece of art? And there is definitely some themes, and if you just look at your music and you revise it afterwards, you'll look like a genius, like you.
Yeah.
But if you just put them out like randomly without knowing what you have created, then they will sound random. So it's just like this having this time to just revise and listen and just like, what did we try to create here? Because in the moment it's really spontaneous and it's just like you're tapping into your raw emotions. But then if you get the time to just like, what is this? What is my subconscious trying to tell me in the songwriting? Then you can learn something about yourself. So I think like the therapy will hopefully happen in the minds of the people listening to it and putting themselves into the music. And for us, if we actually like take into what we have created. Like we go into it and yeah.
And for me, I love that I'm not the only one who likes to explore the mind. And you both of you have become really great songwriters throughout these years together. And I've become a better producer. So we kind of
Yeah,
help
it's
each
the
other
learning
out.
thing again. Of course,
Yeah.
we learn from each other.
Well, it sounds like you guys are a tight unit, and this has only
Sure.
made you stronger in a lot of sense. And I did want to talk about the artwork of this record because
Yes.
I didn't get much information, but I saw the
No.
artwork and immediately invoked a feeling. I think, and that's the purpose,
Yeah.
right? But it's this depiction. It looks like almost like heaven, and then but Yggdrasil dead. And it's just like, whoa, okay, so it's like this hopeful yet really melancholic approach to what it is. And I was wondering if you could speak of the messaging behind it and how it relates to what you guys are talking about, personally on the record.
Yeah. Well, the artwork has been painted by an artist named Elena Shubar, Ukrainian artist living in UK. We explored different things with like AI art, and also I was really inspired by the movie Annihilation, and but then she painted, hand painted our idea that we developed together, and the idea is sort of that nature will affect us as humans, will affect the mind, or vice versa. It's like this recycling circle of life process where also the mind will also affect the world externally, and it will, well, whatever we think, so shall the world become, in a way. And from there, the roots will grow either, as hands or reaching out to the sky. And there's also in the sky, there's a reference to our debut album, The Line. It's kind of like the same sky with the sun. I like the combination of man versus nature, or that it becomes one, almost. That it's a little bit dystopian, a little bit nasty in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I because I keep coming back to like if I don't know what genre you really belong in, but
neither.
melancholic beauty is really the term that I could put best for what you do.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, no, melancholy is definitely a part, like a running theme. But I will say, I'm glad you said you feel a bit of hope looking at the artwork, because even though there are some very tender and maybe depressing song themes going on the record, I feel it's much more hopeful affair than previous album, at least our debut album.
Yeah.
So there is some hope and there's some fun in there too. It's not all serious, but we can't help it. It just gets melancholic.
Yeah.
That
It's this introverted melancholy about going inwards. But when you do that, when you take accountability for yourself and how you think and how you how you are in the inside, it will affect the world externally on the outside. So it's that sort of mind versus nature.
And
the
there's
world.
certainly a
Yeah.
lot of beauty in describing that, going in, like, in suffering.
Yeah.
Like if you can find a lot of beauty in hardships and the human condition.
A lot of profound moments found both in and out of the band.
Yeah.
And speaking of hope, as a newer band that is still out there, I mean, this is your third record coming out now, still working at it, still on the rise. What is a place that you hope for Kalandra to be in the future?
That's a tricky one. I want the band to continue growing, want to go new places, meet new people, play bigger and bigger shows, but I don't know how that looks like yet. But I want to go there, and I want to see how that feels like and how that life will be. But just living off of the music, being able to support myself and those around me, and keep creating as we're doing now. Obviously, we want to live comfortably, but the goal isn't to become superstars, but going there and seeing how that would look like, that'd be fun.
Mm.
So yes, growing it and having fun with it and learning more.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I do think about the future, and I'm great at worrying about the future. It's a great skill I have. But
Some would call it anxiety.
Yeah.
yes. But I obviously I want to keep doing what we're already doing, but I want to make a living from music properly, full out, and I just want to have a good life. It would be nice to afford my own property at some point and just continue touring and play for more people and continue to write. I love writing, and experiment with sounds and just be able to have it as a full-time job would be nice. That's the dream.
I agree very much with both of you. And I think for me, I think we do dream big. We want to play on the biggest festivals and world tours but like the main sort of goal for me, because we've been working on this for 12 years, and for the most of that time, like all our money and part-time jobs has gone into the project. Like didn't pay ourselves for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then we gradually built our own studio, and we just because we couldn't afford to pay studios because we spent so long in the studio. So it's just like
you do spend a lot of time.
in order to create the music we want to create, we have to build it ourselves.
Right.
So we're just taking the long way all the time. And I want to be able to reach the point where it's not a financial decision that stops us from creating the music we want to create, both on stage and on the record. So that is like, I don't feel like we've written our best album yet. It will come, but once that's my dream for the band, to just reach that point. It's just like it's purely our own ideas that stops us from creating.
Yeah.
And that comes with the financial stability and bigger crowds. But that is my dream.
One very specific thing, I want to record with a symphony orchestra.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like one demand.
I would love to be able to give our audience like a very exclusive gig with like a Gregorian choir and a symphony orchestra like Cork here in Norway. Just like get an arranger, help us out, and just
more is more.
Well, I'd say that you guys are well on your way, and like really, truly very intriguing in what you're doing, and I can't wait to see even more. I mean, we're not even out with the new record yet, but I can't wait for the world to witness that. A Frame of Mind coming out this September. Kalandra, check it out.